Hey guys, and welcome to another season of the Us People podcast. I'm your host, Savia Rocks, and in this season, we uncover the remarkable power of genuine compassion and insightful vision. This season, we're here to show the world that we, as individuals, are the brand, regardless of misconceptions. Join us as we go deep into the inspiring journeys of our guests, each one a testament to the impact and influence of kindness and creativity. Don't just take my word for it. Hear their stories, feel their passion, and discover the transformative potential within us all. So stay tuned as we shine a light on the truths that connects us and inspires change.
Hi, my name is Philip James McGoldrick. I'm a film director and founder, and you're listening to Us People podcast with Savia Rocks.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Us People podcast. I'm your host, Savia Rocks, and today I am abundantly humbled to have Philip here with me. Philip is an award-winning British European filmmaker, director, producer, and writer. Did I get that all correct there?
Yes, that's all perfect. Yeah, that's me.
Because Philip is talented. He's like a very humble person, and this is why I love to be able to have people come on the show to be able to tell their story in their way. Philip, I want to thank you so much for taking your time to come on the Us People podcast. How are you?
Well, thank you, Savia. I am very good. I had quite an active day. Got up about 4 a.m.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I've got kids. So let's start there. I'm a dad, quite proud dad, and I'm married and living in South London. And because I'm short on time, I decide to, get up a bit earlier and get some work in. So that's how I do things. And I do get to work during the day, but sometimes I get interrupted and I have loads of ideas. So find it quite hard to focus, so I need to get up earlier and get some more time for myself. So I meditate in the morning, I think a lot, I do some exercise, and then I get to work.
See, this is the part I love. The sheer fact that you can find time to wake up in the morning and do everything that you need to be able to do a lot more in the day. I always find that if I wake up late, which happens on occasions, I don't get to fulfill as much as I want in my life. So, and in the day. So Philip, my first question for you is, could you tell me a bit about yourself, where you grew up and how that influenced you to be the person who you are today?
Yes. So, so I'm Philip. I was born in Poland, surprisingly, and then raised in Belgium, and spent a little bit of my time when I was younger in the UK. That's why I'm British European. And then at a later age, I studied in Brussels in Belgium, and then got headhunted by the National Film School in the UK. And since then I moved and have been living here, quite a happy life in Croydon, south of London.
I know that.
Yes. And so, that's a little bit about me in sort of broad strokes. And I can go into more detail if you like.
Oh, please do. Please do.
Great. Yeah, great. So I guess what kind of, my life is probably a bit complex compared to other people. So I was adopted, and found out quite late in life that I was around 19 years old by accident. And I went on a search to find my biological mother in Poland. I found her. And then because of that, I sort of found out more about my roots, which, I speak quite openly about, is that I was born through sexual violence and found
Okay.
that out very late in life. And then after that, after a bit of a turbulence and in sort of my inner world, I found my feet again and decided to continue making films in the UK. And that's how I ended up here. And yeah, also because I was raised in the UK when I was very, very early days before Belgium. It was
Yeah.
about 1 to 4. I was raised in Bromley, and then ended up my adoptive mum, ended up divorcing my adoptive dad, and they moved to Belgium, and that's how I speak Dutch, Flemish, and French, and also Polish, and so my whole sort of teenage life was in Belgium, and then after that, my sort of 20s was spent in between the UK and Poland, and then so that's now about probably 13 years ago that I've moved to the UK and stayed here. So yeah, that's it. That's in a nutshell.
To
That's me.
to be fair, Philip, you've gone through an extraordinary life.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah.
To be able to go through life knowing that you have been adopted, and that in itself, I can understand, definitely. But also to be able to understand acceptance of it, but then to want to go out and find your birth mother takes a lot of compassion from yourself and for her. It takes a lot of forgiveness as well. I also believe that as well. One question that I do want to ask that will tally into my first question, Philip, is can you define yourself as a person? But also, who do you see when you look in the mirror? But on the flip side of that question, has there ever been a time when you have looked in the mirror and not recognized the person staring back at you? How did you manage to go from a person that you might not have liked seeing in the mirror to becoming a person or seeing yourself in the mirror later on in life and realizing this is a person that has purpose?
Yeah, there was a moment when definitely it felt very cloudy. And when I looked in the mirror, I probably saw, a bit of a bit of a separation between who I thought I was and who I really was, probably. And there was a bit of an enlightenment moment when I decided that, I'm not necessarily those things.
Yes,
And, gone
definitely.
through a kind of spiritual process and come out the other end, sort of almost separating yourself from yourself through pain, and then coming back and feeling like you can be comfortable again with who
Yeah,
you are,
yeah,
to be open and frank and bold with who you are. And that took some practice, some time, and some conviction that what I was going through wasn't me, and that it was also not strictly unique. It feels often that we're the only ones going through things,
yeah,
but there's
that's
a
true.
whole world out there of people like me, who's born like me, or even had worse situations, and they don't come out. They don't come out and speak about it. Sometimes they will. Nowadays, they will way more than a few years back. But when I started speaking about it, there was no. I mean, there's no information. There was no counseling really, because they didn't really understand how to cope with it. There's no PhDs on children born through sexual violence. It's
Yeah,
all now, which is actually quite relieving. So that's part of my journey, is to just accept myself, and that's happened fully. There's we all have different things that we want to achieve in life, and
Yes.
sometimes you can be dissatisfied with those sort of day-to-day activities that you may not be achieving. But as a person, I'm quite, in a way, deep down, quite happy with
Yeah.
the overcoming of those obstacles.
Sometimes I think that trauma doesn't always have to be a bad thing. I think trauma can help you make choices in your life that turn something that started bad into something beautiful.
Absolutely.
And all it takes, like I said before, is just not denying it, learning to forgive it, which is the biggest process. Believe me, the forgiveness part is the biggest process of it all.
Yes.
But then accepting it.
Yeah. There will always be a part of you that has a hard time with it, because it's,
I agree.
yeah, there's there's moments when you can break down, scream, cry, there's that happens, because there's a lack. There's, I, from birth, I was raised by guardians and parents, but there's a disconnect from my roots, which is something
Yes.
that I think a lot of people can relate to.
Yes, I completely agree. I would love to know if you would like to speak more about it. I know that you said you stumbled by accident and found out that you were adopted, for example. How did that stumble happen? I would love to know more if you're willing to share. How
Yeah.
did that stumble happen? And how did you take it on emotionally?
So when I was very young, from a very early age, because my parents were divorced, my adoptive parents were divorced, I always had a image in my head that my father was an Irish solicitor living in London, a ginger man, a little bit, a bulky man who drank too much, and this was one of the reasons they separated.
Okay.
Yes. So I was always looking for a father figure. So when I rummaged my mum's sort of wardrobe, because she had pictures of my dad, that's what I was looking for. I was looking for old 80s, 90s pictures of my adoptive father, who I didn't know at the time was my adoptive father.
Yeah.
But because of that, I stumbled into, her private documents, which show that I was adopted. And it was quite shocking to see your name on those papers. And it's like a process. Oh, wait, that's about me. And oh, wait, I'm the adopted one. So
Yes.
it's quite shocking, actually. And this is how it happened. It was through curiosity to, curiosity for who I am and my father, discovering that he's not my father and that I'm adopted. And then it shifted. So I've always been curious about a father figure. I've always been curious to find out where my roots are. And through that curiosity, I discovered the truth. And the truth stung like hell.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the story of how I discovered it.
It's funny, I know a lot of people who have gone through a similar situations, and every time I hear the story, it always triggers something different in me because of how people have been through it in so many different ways. Which kind of leads me to the creativity in you and the sheer fact that you are a filmmaker, and how being a filmmaker can resonate, and they all intertwine with each other. I know they do. Being a filmmaker, being a writer, being a producer, all these things intertwine with each other. What was the most beautiful thing that made you realize that you wanted to be a filmmaker?
The beautiful thing. The beautiful thing was a crossroads right after graduating from high school. I was asked, what would you like to do with your life?
Yes, yes.
Yes. So I'd gone through, I want to be a philosopher. I want to do Japano- Jap- Japanology. I had crazy ideas, but my teacher threw back a question, would you go to film school? And I hadn't considered it. But the same night, I went to see a film in the cinema, which was Broken Flowers by Jim Jarmusch.
Oh,
Yes, with Bill Murray. And something happened in that moment where I saw a kind of Zen stillness in the film, like a poetry. And I saw myself in that, and it's very hard to describe, but I
yeah.
saw myself in the quality of that work and knew that I wanted to do that for the rest of my life from that moment. So I decided to go to film school.
I think it was just something that made you find purpose.
Yes.
I, I,
Yes.
f- I think it was something that said to yourself, okay, this is something that gives me purpose, but it also allows me to share other people's stories who sometimes hide behind what's happened to them in their lives.
Yes, I think definitely there was also the sort of, let's say, the negative side of it is that, my household at home was quite, let's say, it wasn't very stable. It was quite chaotic and shouty. And so I would escape into writing and I would escape into making things and I would escape. So there is that side as well. And I think in seeing that film, that night I was probably in a very bad mood actually. So you know how you can go into a cinema feeling a bit heavy.
Yes, you can. Yeah.
Yeah. So I went in feeling like that. But at that stage, that's more connected with mood. It's more connected with being young and having, yeah, like you say, that purpose. It's nothing to do with the bigger picture. But there's something in that film that just spoke more to the soul, I think, rather than
Yes.
the mind or anything else. And that was the draw to that pulled me towards that. And funnily enough, later in life, just recently, I had two encounters with Jim Jarmusch, where I was able to meet him, tell my story, and a really profound thing happened because Jim Jarmusch and Joseph Van Wissem work together quite a lot. So there's this film, Only Lovers Left Alive, with Tilda Swinton. What's the other actor called again? Yeah, anyway, it's Tilda Swinton's in it. And Joseph plays the lute and Jim plays the guitar. And they play in a band, so he makes soundtracks as well. And I really love that track. So I got in touch with Joseph and asked if he wanted a film. So we made a film together for one of his tracks because he's a solo artist as well. And through that connection, I got to meet Jim, and Joseph also composed part of the soundtrack for the documentary about my life, which is called Born of Violence. And hearing that, first of all, was extremely emotional for me because it's, one of the people involved with my hero from when I was young, Jim Jarmusch, playing the lute on my documentary. It was very profound. And when I went to see them in London, they were performing together, and it was sort of a while since I reached out to Joseph, but he invited me, and he was playing the lute, and suddenly I hear that track. So it's almost like my theme song.
Yes.
And I hear that track, and I go, "What is that? Oh my God, that's the track!" And then Jim Jarmusch is jamming on his electric guitar, jamming to my sort of song. So that was quite like a full moment for me because it was somebody that got me into film, and then by making this documentary, he's now somewhat involved in the making of it. without anyone saying or agreeing that we're going to do this. It's just vibing, I guess. And that was a profound shift for me. It's sort of almost a bit like positively traumatic, like where you're
See?
shocked,
Yep.
but it's quite nice. Yeah.
See, this is why I love being able to talk to creative people just as much as everybody else. But there's something in the way that we think, the way that our mind shifts, and a lot of people don't understand the way our minds work sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, very abundantly so. So my next question for you is, when it comes to, we all have had a chance in life. Who are some of the people that you believe have given you a chance in life?
That's a deep question. I would say, first of all, my adoptive mom, who's carried a lot of the responsibilities and I guess, raised me from day one. She was there. It wasn't an easy ride for her, but definitely my mom, my sister, who I sort of consider my guardian angel. She's always,
I love
been with
that.
me, and she always looks after me. So her, and then my partner, my wife, who is a musician, and she was studying composing at the National Film School, and that's how we met. And she's just forever patient and kind and healing. Like, she's just an incredible soul. So those three people, it's three women. Yeah.
I like that. I like that. The power of a beautiful woman is always there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is one more person,
Oh, okay.
which is also an unusual story. This is my stepfather,
Okay.
who has also always been in my life. And in January, this January, I'm being adopted for a second time. So I'm a grown man, and grown men don't usually get adopted. But this is kind of symbolic, but also for legal reasons. He's adopting me, and so I'll be adopted twice, which is
Wow.
yeah.
That's actually quite
very
phenomenal. How does it feel to know that now that you being this age that you are, and
Yes.
knowing that you're gonna be adopted again? How does that feel? Because now you know that there's no hidden truths. It's open. It's coming to you from an abundant place. How does that make you feel now?
It's I'm doing it. I believe, actually, even more so for him, because I believe that he's just genuinely a great man. He's super kind, doesn't have any quirks really. He's just always giving and present, and so I it's mainly for him, partially for me, because maybe I can just instead of having three father figures to try and figure out which one's which, I can in my mind just say let's just stick to one, because he's always been there. And it's kind of a funny story, I think, to be adopted twice. It's unusual. I mean, I don't know if it's done or not. It's kind of, it's it's an interesting idea, and it complicates it even more, which is kind of funny. Yeah, again. Yeah.
No, but I understand it, and it's funny how things happen in different times in our lives. And I always say it never happens before we're ready to receive it.
Mm.
So that's another thing I always keep in my mind. And even if it comes as a shock, there's a reason for that shock, which helps us. So
Yeah.
definitely. Definitely.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
my next question for you is, I know that you love music, you're married to someone who's beautiful and creative as well, who does music. But if I was to say to you, if there was one song that was the soundtrack of your life, and I think I know what you're going to say, what song would you choose and why would you choose that particular song?
Actually, it may not be that song.
Oh,
The documentary song, the theme.
yeah, it was, yeah, for some reason.
That's one of them, but it's not going to be the main one. I'm actually going
Okay,
to pick Deerskin by
okay.
Elder, which is my wife's, probably her like most powerful and accomplished songs. So that song features on my feature film, because
Hmm?
I made a feature film
Yeah.
called Tramp. We made it together, and so she, as a composer, has also produced that film
Hmm.
as a main producer, co-produced it with me, and it's about a female fighter in MMA who unexpectedly gets pregnant, finds out, and then has to face the reality of that and the consequences and the fallout.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's trying to fight her way back into the ring. And Deerskin, and Elder is my wife's stage name,
Hmm.
is one of the soundtracks, which just sounds incredible in the film. And it's just a very good track. So I would say that one right now is top of the list for me. And also because I'm just incredibly proud of her
I
for
like that.
accomplishing such a good song. And, we always joke that if you can't get your songs synced, we can at least force it onto the world
I like that
by
idea.
producing it
Yes.
and just
Yes,
sending
Philip, I
it
completely agree.
off.
I completely agree. I'm so glad you said that.
Yes.
So my next one for you is, what do you believe it takes for a how can a director to be memorable in their field? And I'm not saying it just because they are already established. It could be established or unestablished. The title and power does not matter.
Mm.
What I'm after is to understand, and for the listeners to understand, what do you believe it takes for a director to be memorable in how they are creative, in how they are emotionally, and if they are a writer like yourself, how they are within writing? What do you believe it takes to be a longevity director in the world of films?
Great question. What comes to mind is being whole,
Mm.
almost a holistic approach to filmmaking. And I don't want to make this sound spiritual because it's not.
Mm.
The best directors and the most legendary directors are not moral creatures. So they will embody who they are in every aspect of their being.
Yeah.
And I think this represents the best storytelling, the best um, sort of achieving legendary status by not being afraid to confront the things that people may not like about you
Yes.
or the things they may not like about your art.
Yes.
Because art itself is freedom.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot mess with it. Whatever you see in art that you don't like says nothing about the art.
Yeah.
And so the best directors, they just own that, and they create stories that are both, uplifting but also confronting, and just bring out something of a humanity that is real. And if you're trying to make, if you're trying to be a moral filmmaker, where you're trying to tell a more of a moral tale, you
Mm-hmm.
may get drowned out, and you may not find that. And I wonder if this is something that younger people today struggle with,
Yeah.
to just be themselves and not fit some kind of model or agenda, or just having soft edges is good.
Yeah.
It's not always good.
Mm,
I think it's just being yourself
I
is
agree.
not always going to be pretty.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I definitely understand that one. It's not, and sometimes it brings flashbacks of things that you didn't know that were in your mind. It was just, I think it was just yesterday, to be fair, that I was having a conversation with someone, and we were talking about the brain and how it works. And the brain is such a complex thing where your brain knows what you've been through, in the sense where it will block out things and it will make you not remember them in order to protect you. Because if those things are unleashed, it may just cause mental health. It may cause so many other things that can be triggered within yourself, and it can also do so many things to you. And that's why it's so fundamentally important to know when is the right time for you to go through things, know when is the right time to say yes to things, know when is the right time to be strong, like you said, and know when it's okay to be weak, because weak is not a bad thing. Being weak can also be a strength. So
Absolutely.
I completely agree.
Absolutely. And vulnerability is important, but to me they can also be slightly different elements of your being that just also sometimes need to be separated. So
Yes.
vulnerability, in a sense that vulnerability is going to get you, let's say if you're a filmmaker, the
Yeah.
best film. Vulnerability
Yeah.
is going to, if you speak up about something that you have been repressing and don't want to talk about, you're probably onto something, because that's you. And I think
Yeah.
that's close actually to what I was saying about
Yes.
not being sort of a moral story, because I think a lot of morality comes from what do we think others want to hear, and what
Yes, that's
do,
true.
yeah. And so if you're talking about something that is deeply uncomfortable or vulnerable in a way, because you're not wanting to make it deeply uncomfortable, you're just wanting to be yourself.
Yeah.
So if you're talking about something that you really think about and you really ponder about and want to talk about, but you choose not to, I think sometimes it's more devastating to your career and legacy.
Yes.
Because yes, so not biting your tongue, speaking out, even if you're wrong, you will get the world to tell you that.
Yeah.
The world will tell you you are wrong, and then the real test is, am I right or are they wrong? Where do I stand? What are my values? Are they right or are they right? And if you know your values and you know that you stand for something, that you've got purpose, then it doesn't matter if they call you bad, because
Yeah.
you know what you stand for. And that's where morality
Yep.
gets a pushback. And that's what I think is necessary, not to be afraid to just be yourself.
I agree. I love the way that you explain that.
Ah, thanks.
No, I truly do. I love that, because there are a lot of people I feel who will need to hear that in that way. Because always say it's not what we say, it's how we say it that can impact a person's life, which is so important in life, which kind of tallies into my next question, which is about judgment. So a lot of us are judged in the world based upon who we are, how we look, where we come from. We all know this, what's happened to us in our lives. But if I was to say to you, if I take away the word judgment from the dictionary, it did not exist. What do you believe what do you believe, I should say, that you would do differently or would have done differently in your life because the word judgment did not exist?
So the word and the feeling or the perception of judgment is not there.
Yes, all of it. So all of it is completely gone. So you don't, the word judgment is not there. The feeling, the emotion of it, the way that we feel when we're being judged by someone else, it's completely, we've got rid of it completely. If judgment wasn't there, how do you feel your life would have been? Because the reason why I say that is because so many times in our life we feel judged by other people. Like you said before, we always want to please other people, and a lot of us become people pleasers and forget about ourselves. So taking away the word judgment completely in any form can transform our lives. But how do you feel it would have transformed yours?
It would have benefited my life in an exponentially better way.
Yes.
Probably by more, more levels than I can imagine.
Yes.
Because judgment is the barrier between, being embraced or being vilified or being judged in reverse. So
Yes.
I think, judgment stands in the way of unity, in the way of vulnerability and touch.
Yes.
Sometimes we just need that human connection, that, an intimacy on a sort of more profound level. So
Yes.
I do personally struggle with judgment. I think judgment in me is quite strong.
Yeah.
But I also think, having said that, that judgment, if you only look at sort of this, you need your discriminatory mind. You need to
Yes.
be able to say this is good and this is bad. But when it goes too deep into emotion, negative emotion, and too deep into the sort of shadowy parts of this is good and this is bad, that's
Yeah.
when you start to reject the world. And that's when you start to, fall behind, because what you're doing is you're saying, yeah, that's definitely bad. That's bad. And so there's no way you can see that reality as it is because you're judging it.
Yeah.
So what I'm getting at is that for navigating the world, you need a compass and you need to be able to say that's the right road, that's not the right road. And that's practical. So
Yes.
for that reason, there's part of our minds that has that function. But when you abuse it, it can almost be, a barrier and block you. So that's a really, really good question.
Thank you so much. I love the way you answered it, to be fair. I think it works. I think it works both ways. So I would love to know, what is the best advice that you have ever received that has helped you throughout your life? And I know they say that we go through transitions every 7 years of our lives. So for example, we 7 and 14 and 21 and so on and so forth, and we always transform into different people, and that is okay. And sometimes even when you're with a partner, it's not that you're both not getting along, it's that you're both changing separately, and that is okay. You can change together or you can change separately, and that's okay. But what is some of the best advice that you have ever received from someone that you believe has helped you throughout your life?
That's a difficult question because nothing really comes to mind.
That's fair enough.
There are some, let's say, spiritual teachers that come to mind. I had phases where I'd really seek out a lot of spiritual teachers. One of
Yes.
my favorite ones is Wayne Dyer. Wayne Dyer is somebody who's more of an 80s, 90s kind of teacher. He recently passed away, or a few years back. And he is somebody who speaks about, he's really investigated a lot of, books and teachings. And what I get from him is a kind of, one of the things he says is, actually, the less you do, the more things come to you. The less you try, the less you, enforce your vision onto the world or try and get to something, better you are at actually attracting it. And it comes with the same abandonment, detachment, I would say, that a lot of these spiritual teachers say, is that, don't attach yourself to any identity or personhood. There's something deeper in you that is the real you, and anything else is just a complete fabrication. So he's tapping into sort of the Taoist philosophies of, letting go and not necessarily even adding you to you kind of idea of, I could easily stop thinking and I could interact with the world quite easily. But when you think that there's another you somewhere in there, then that's the confusion, and that's the barrier to actually exploring and enjoying your life. So that's something that I picked up from a lot of different teachers, not just Wayne Dyer, but he's very good at describing it, and he's very good at public speaking. So I love listening to him. Yeah.
When was the last time that you felt totally at peace with yourself?
There was a moment that I was lucky enough to go to a silent retreat. It's Muji.
Yes.
And Muji does get a little bit of slack. He's not always considered necessarily a credible spiritual leader at times. But that retreat, I learned so much. I'll give you one example. So you're not allowed to speak during the whole thing. And I had very profound realizations during that time. So, for example, if there's let's say, a canteen where everybody comes to eat, you go and everyone's silent, and all you can do is really gauge each other through your senses. So through seeing them, hearing them, but you can't really speak to each other. You can't interact. There was this one moment when somebody accidentally left a glass on a table, and I wanted to say, "Hey, that's your glass," but because I wasn't able to speak, I had to pick it up. And as humans in the world, as we interact with each other, you would go, if you were not a very pleasant person, you'd go, "Hey, that's your glass. Why don't you just clean up after yourself?" But because you're forced to take that glass and bring it back, whose glass is it? It becomes almost nobody's. It's nobody's property. It's not attached to anyone. And that made me realize that actually we're more one than we think, because who's going to take ownership if nobody can speak and there's no thought? If there was no thought, then I would just go, "Oh, there's a glass here," and that gets rid of the ego. So that's one of the most. And after that retreat, I just sensed a real presence, a calm in me, and also got rid of a lot of toxic elements that I think I was storing and sometimes come up. So yeah, I'd say that was one of the most peaceful times.
If there was one quote that represented you as a person, what quote would it be, and why would you choose that particular quote? I'm interested to hear this one.
A quote that represents me.
Mm.
I don't think there is one.
That's fair enough. That's totally okay.
Yeah, not just saying that. There's nothing that, because I could choose a million quotes, and a lot of it, some of it has to do with more, let's say, overcoming. Overcoming is one, maybe.
Yes.
But all in all, I think that there is not really something that defines me.
No, this is what I like. I like the fact that sometimes when you ask someone to answer a question, they don't always have an answer for it. And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, for sure. But it's a good question though, and it makes you think. And so still a great question. And overcoming does come to mind. So I don't know if that means anything.
No, it does. Trust me. From my perspective, it definitely does. So we've had a beautiful conversation today. If anybody who's listening to this conversation, if there was one thing that you would like them to take away from this conversation that we've had today, what would you say to them, and what would you like them to take away?
Believe in yourself. Get up a little bit earlier.
I like that.
Not for any of the reasons why people say you should. Not even necessarily for discipline or for being tough and strong. That does come to my mind sometimes when I do these things. But because you can experience 2 or 3 times more of life than you would normally. And you would never look at life in a different light, because actually life is quite profound, and you've got such a short time. So enjoy it, live it, and get up with the sunrise, and you can go to bed earlier or whatever you want. But I just think that's what I'm experiencing right now. It's just being more in the present moment and loving every moment of purpose, of making.
I like that.
Yeah, gaining time. Yeah.
That makes complete sense to me. Before we decide to go, I would love for people to be able to find you on any platform. So please let us know where we can find you and how people can connect with you. And even if they want to have a conversation with you, where can they find you?
So me personally, I'm on Instagram and LinkedIn mainly. So I'm Philip James McGoldrick, and you can connect with me on there. I also run emcproductions.uk. And with that, we do filmmaking, we do PR consultations, and we've just launched a vertical drama app called Tattle TV. For anyone who doesn't know vertical dramas, they are very big in China and the US, but in UK and Europe, it's a very little known concept. It's a bit like a long form way of looking at series and content by scrolling through reels that are very short. So think of it like a long form TikTok, but you can watch series, you can watch content. So we developed the first one with the British European focus, and some international sections and all that. But we're hoping, and it is sort of the first of its kind in the UK, we're hoping to bring it out and get the film industry very active again, because we feel like people have been struggling in the film industry, and it hasn't.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So hopefully it revives something, and we hope it's a success.
I hope it's a success for you, to be fair.
Thank you.
And I'm going to send you some positive energy so that can succeed, because I always believe in good karma and throwing good karma at people so they can flourish in what they love and want to be in life. So from me to you, Philip, I want to say thank you so much for taking your time to come on the Yes People podcast today, for sharing your story authentically in your way, for being as calm as you have been on the show, and just literally just sharing an abundance of who you are. I have gratitude for you, and I'm sure the listeners have gratitude for you. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Savia, and you have such a warm and open personality, and it's just been a great conversation. So I'd like to thank you as well, and thank you
so much. No, you are more than welcome. And guys, I want to thank you so much for listening to the Yes People podcast. And please remember, you can subscribe and leave us a review on any channel that you will listen to. Please also follow on the Us People podcast website, which is www.uspeoplepodcast.com. You can also hit that community page, because every time we put out a podcast, we always write a beautiful story to go with the podcast that comes out. You can also check Savia Rocks out on www.savia.rocks. And the most important part is, guys, thank you so much for listening. Stay happy, stay positive, and as always, please continue to be kind to one another. Take care.
Society has made me want to validate me from my illusion that awaits me, from how the people will perceive me. It's my illusion that awaits me. We fight in our war with ourselves. Our mental health is silencing us from our heart. Social media is taking our time from connecting with each other soul to soul. Why we dance on TikTok? Strike a post on Instagram, fight the web on a Twitter feed, link a thing on Snapchat. Why we dance on TikTok? Strike a post on Instagram, fight the web on a Twitter feed, link a thing on Snapchat.
We are good, Philip.
Wow, that's very impressive, the way you deliver that final little talk. I like it. You're very good. So thank you for having me on, and really enjoyed the conversation. And
me too.
It was powerful.
Social media is taking our time from connecting with each other soul to soul. Why we dance on TikTok? Strike a post on Instagram, fight the web on a Twitter feed, link a thing on Snapchat. Why we dance on TikTok?
Don't worry about it.
Just having a sip.
No. You be yourself. You take a sip of a drink anytime you want. You do. Make sure you just authentically you, Philip. Honestly.
It's cool. I can do that.
Let's go.
Why we dance on TikTok? Why we dance on TikTok? Why we dance on TikTok? It's taking our time. Why we dance on TikTok? With each other soul to soul. Why we dance on TikTok? Strike a post on Instagram, fight the web on a Twitter feed, link a thing on Snapchat. Why we dance on TikTok? Strike a post on Instagram, fight the web on a Twitter feed, link a thing on Snapchat.